On a blistering afternoon in Willow Creek, California, Crimson Road shimmered under the unrelenting sun, a stretch of quiet highway that seemed to melt into the horizon. But today, it would witness something far from quiet, a reckoning born of arrogance, prejudice, and the unbearable weight of truth. Lieutenant Rex Monroe gripped his steering wheel, his mirrored sunglasses reflecting the empty road ahead. At his side sat Officer Todd Jenkins, silent as always. Monroe had spent over 15 years patrolling these roads, and he carried himself as if he owned every inch of them. His reputation was no secret. He thrived on control, wielded his badge like a weapon, and enjoyed pushing people, especially those he deemed out of place, to their limits. That afternoon, boredom gnawed at him. Nothing but heat waves and scattered dust. Until he saw her. A silver Toyota Camry with Arizona plates glided into view, its driver a black woman with neat braids, her posture calm, eyes fixed ahead. The car was clean, well-maintained, but to Monroe, that didn't matter. To him, everything about her presence screamed suspicion. Arizona plates. Black woman. Here. That's strange enough for me, he muttered, flipping on the lights. Jenkins shot him a glance, but said nothing. The Camry pulled over obediently. Monroe emerged from the cruiser like a man stepping onto a stage. He strutted to the driver's side, leaning on the door, and peered inside. The woman lowered her window halfway, her expression unreadable but poised. "Good afternoon, officer," she said. Monroe smirked. "Good afternoon. You know why I stopped you?" "I thought I was within the speed limit," she replied evenly. "Oh, you were weaving." "About 70 in a 55. License and registration." There was no weaving. He was lying outright, but she didn't flinch. She retrieved her papers without haste, her hands steady. Monroe eyed the name. Olivia Reed, Phoenix, Arizona. 35. "And where are you headed, Ms. Reed?" "San Francisco," she said. "For what?" he pressed, already annoyed by her calm. "Personal business." "Doing what?" "You travel a lot." She hesitated. "I work for the federal government." "The federal government? Doing what?" "Handing out food stamps," he laughed, glancing at Jenkins, who looked away. Olivia didn't respond, but something sharp flashed in her eyes. "I work in an administrative capacity," she said simply. Monroe's lips curled. "Mind if I search your car?" "Yes, I mind. I'm not carrying anything illegal." "You have no warrant and no cause." Monroe's temper spiked. He hated people who knew their rights. He hated how she looked at him. Not afraid, not submissive, just steady. To him, it was insubordination. "You don't tell me the law," he snarled, his hand resting on his holstered gun. "Step out of the car now." Olivia opened the door slowly, stepped out, and stood tall. "Hands up," Monroe barked. She hesitated, then raised her hands to shoulder height, palms out, her gaze fixed on his. And that's when the air changed. For the first time in years, Monroe felt his own authority slipping, like trying to grip water. The woman before him didn't look afraid. If anything, her calm deepened his fear. The gun in his hand felt heavier now, his finger trembling against the trigger guard. Jenkins shifted uncomfortably, his own nervousness growing. "Turn around," Monroe ordered. Olivia didn't move at first. Her eyes locked onto his, unblinking. The silence stretched, thick as the humid air. "What are you waiting for?" he shouted. Her voice, when it came, was quiet but piercing. "What are you really afraid of, officer?" Monroe froze. The question hung in the sweltering air, echoing louder than his threats. In that moment, something cracked, not in her but in him. His mind raced. Was she armed with something more dangerous than a weapon? Did she know something? Her confidence unnerved him, made him feel exposed in a way he couldn't explain. Behind them, the wind stirred the dry grass, the only sound breaking the silence that Monroe's breath quickened. He realized his hand was shaking now, the gun quivering ever so slightly. Jenkins glanced at him, his brow furrowed. "You're obstructing," Monroe started, but the words caught in his throat. Olivia's steady gaze bore into him. "No," she said calmly. "You're abusing." And there it was, the word he never wanted to hear, the truth he had buried under years of bravado and cruelty. The badge felt heavier on his chest, his authority suddenly meaningless. His vision blurred as he tried to speak again, his voice cracking this time. "You think you can," but the words faltered as he caught sight of something. Something small but unmistakable, clipped discreetly inside her jacket. It gleamed just enough for him to recognize it before she tucked it back out of sight. His stomach dropped. Jenkins noticed it too, his eyes widening, but he stayed silent. Olivia lowered her hand slowly, her expression unchanging. "Now," she said softly, "shall we finish this properly?" The sun bore down mercilessly, the heat pressing on all sides, but Monroe suddenly felt cold. He glanced around as if searching for an escape, but the only thing surrounding him was the empty road, stretching endlessly in both directions. His grip on the gun weakened. The wind picked up again, whistling through the silence. The sweltering afternoon sun bore down on Crimson Road, just outside Willow Creek, where Lieutenant Rex Monroe stood over Olivia Reed, gun still trembling in his hand. His arrogance only moments ago was now masked by unease. "Spread your legs," he ordered. Olivia complied deliberately, her movements measured, her disgust at his rough pat-down hidden behind a calm exterior. "Nothing," he muttered after frisking her. Shoving her aside, he growled, "Stay put. I'm searching your car." Monroe ripped the Camry's door open and began tearing through her belongings, flipping cushions, emptying compartments, scattering her purse across the seat. Jenkins stood frozen nearby, a silent witness. "You're ruining my things," Olivia said coolly. "Shut up," Monroe snapped, pawing through her wallet, counting her cash aloud before pocketing it with a sneer. Then his fingers found a slim black leather case deep inside her bag. He yanked it out, flipping it open, then froze. Inside gleamed a shiny badge. Federal Bureau of Investigation, Special Agent Olivia Reed. The matching ID card left no doubt. For a long moment Monroe just stared, his face blanching, sweat pooling on his brow. The badge seemed to burn in his shaking hand, mocking him. He dropped it, then scrambled to pick it up clumsily. "Teach this," he stammered, voice cracking. Olivia stepped closer, her calm now edged with steel. "Did you find something, Officer Monroe?" He swallowed hard. "You're FBI?" "Yes," she confirmed, her gaze steady. "You've just conducted an illegal stop, search, and intimidation against a federal agent. You used discriminatory language, threatened me, and confiscated my property without cause." Her words hit like bullets. The proud man who barked orders moments ago was now reduced to a trembling figure clutching her badge as though it might bite him. "I didn't know," he whispered, his tone pitiful. "I swear I didn't know you were FBI." He stuffed the money back in her wallet and held it out to her, but she didn't take it. "Keep it," she said coldly. "It's evidence." She turned to Jenkins, who stood rigid, eyes wide. "Officer Jenkins, you witnessed everything. You'll provide a full, honest report." "Yes, Agent." "Of course," he stammered, visibly relieved Monroe was finally exposed. Olivia calmly retrieved her phone from the pavement, dialing without haste. "This is Agent Reed." She spoke into the receiver, her voice sharp and professional. "Crimson Road, near Willow Creek. Illegal stop, search, and harassment by Lieutenant Rex Monroe. Requesting immediate support from the Los Angeles field office and notifying Willow Creek Internal Affairs." Monroe stood stiff, his holstered gun suddenly feeling like dead weight. Fear replaced the false power he'd clung to. Within an hour, the quiet road buzzed with activity. FBI agents arrived first, then state police, and finally a senior Willow Creek officer. The moment he saw the badge in Monroe's hand, his face turned ashen. Monroe and Jenkins were separated for questioning. Monroe fumbled through excuses, claiming misunderstanding, but Jenkins' testimony and Olivia's calm, factual account left no doubt. On the spot, Monroe was stripped of his badge and gun. Watching him being escorted back to a patrol car, head bowed, shoulders slumped, was poetic justice. The investigation moved swiftly. No one defended him. His record of misconduct and racial bias left no room for doubt. He was fired within days. Federal charges followed for civil rights violations under color of law. At his trial months later, he tried to feign remorse, but Olivia's powerful testimony dismantled him. The judge called out his abuse of authority and the damage he'd done to public trust. Rex Monroe was sentenced to over 2 years in federal prison. For Olivia, it was another grim chapter in a career of fighting for justice. She hadn't sought conflict or humiliation, but when her dignity and rights were attacked, she stood her ground. Her story became a quiet but powerful lesson in humility for police and citizens alike. Power built on prejudice crumbles quickly when confronted with truth. And respect, she proved, is not granted by a badge, but by character.